equaled $20. With the gold confiscation, it was the money supply was raised to $35 an ounce. Today, there are about $100,000 at least per ounce of gold available, but the price is just 1,700 today, or 1,800.
So at what point is the manipulation of the prices might stop? Is there going to be something that might trigger it?
Well, the gold will break the Fed.
Make him go back.
The Fed has to go. The Fed is it's a communist enterprise. So Lenin said that with the central bank, 90% of communism is already installed. That's what Lenin said. Because with the money supply, when you supply the money, well, then you think about it. You're sitting in the basement, you print like crazy, and then you said, yeah, but Shawn, you only get $12 salary. And you have to work for some papers, some freaking bankers, create somewhere on a printing press. And you have to work for this, while other people just print it. So think about this.
Right. Yeah.
And this is going on now for years and years and years and years and years. And think about this. Now America is now 31 trillion in debt. And next year, all tax monies is going as interest payments to the bank. America is bankrupt. America is dead. Thanks, Joe Biden. Thanks, Obama.
So that's why they're trying to create like a federal cryptocurrency. But cryptocurrency is, it's monitored. It has its own like drawbacks.
If you would have a US dollar CDC, this is an absolutely dystopian nightmare, because you can now control every action, every transaction. And so if you have a bad credit score, this is what they come there. So, and you want to buy something which produces too much CO2, where they just cancel your account. You cannot transfer it. You cannot buy it anymore. So they put together in the moment, they put together a digital currency on a ledger, which is directly handled by the Fed. Well, then every transaction, every single cent can be controlled and also shut down. This is the biggest nightmare anybody can think of.
You're talking about cryptocurrency, right?
I'm talking about now the digital euro, and I'm talking about the digital US dollar created by the Fed.
Right, yeah, the federal, I call it the federal cryptocurrency, but however they make it, even with Bitcoin, Bitcoin, when it came out, it was like, buy some Bitcoin because the government can't supervise or control this. But Bitcoin it is controlled by the government. It is, monitored by the government. In fact,
perhaps it was put out by the government. Who knows? Listen, who knows?
That's also possible. We don't know who came up with Bitcoin to this day, right? I don't know. Do you know? But I don't know.
It's some random guy.
It's some random guy.
Keine Ahnung, Nako Tatachi, whatever, some Japanese acronym for something.
It was a son of man, Ben Adam, like just a small guy from the past. So speaking of Bible, though, I want to pick your brain about Bible a little bit, because you're very well studied and everything. But so King Solomon, this is what I read from a law school paper. King Solomon supposedly during his time, the people of Israel were used to bartering. Like, I give you some rice, you give me, or I give you some barley, you give me some like coconut. I don't know if they have coconut, but then he put Israel into an economy of gold and silver. And, and people were not used to gold and silver at the time. But I also heard that King Solomon put his country into debt. Is that true? He used debt to finance the temple building, or maybe, I can show you the source that I got it from. Maybe it's not a reliable source.
So together with Hiram, the first Mason, the first mason who built the temple. Okay?
Yeah.
So they created basically the ships of Tarshish, if you like, and together with the king of Tyrus. So from Tyre, this was the city-state. They were totally versed in reading the stars, navigation, and so on, but they didn't have any people. So King Solomon, they killed all the cedars of Lebanon and built ships. So it started, what is known today as the Phoenicians which traveled the sea. Now it is recorded in twice that the ships from Solomon went out and traveled the world for 3.5 years. And when they came back, it is reported that in one shipment, they have 666 talents of gold. One talent is about 50 kilos. So we are talking about substantial amounts of tons of gold. And there was so much gold and silver there that even bronze was counted as dust. This is what it says. Yeah? So they found in Israel during excavations like a melting a refinery, and they found out that the technology used was only found about 100 years ago, again rediscovered, how to produce steel. Where you have the normal iron, and then you need a certain amount of oxygen, to make steel out of it. And Solomon had this type of refinery in Israel. Now for copper, for bronze. And they took a look around this, and they were wondering, where did Solomon get this incredible amount of material from? Now, the only place they found, which is like, coming from the time of Solomon, are old copper mines in America. And this is something, where the Mormons flew also, because like there is a America BC, a story of America before Jesus, so meaning 1,000 years before. And during excavation, they found old Hebrew scriptures. They found cavings in the stone, which are from the first temple period. And so they figured that Solomon, with his ships, he went to America. Why not?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He went to America. They were able to navigate, and then they dropped in the stuff. So when you take a look at what the ships brought back to Israel, you say, okay, wait a second, where does the stuff come from? It doesn't. It's not in Africa. And you cannot find this in the Mediterranean. You don't find this in Israel. You don't find this in the Arabian Peninsula. So either he got the stuff from India or America or South America, but definitely not from the area. Absolutely. And not that the ships, think about it, 3.5 years, the ships were on the way. And then they returned. And it's just mentioned in one verse. Yeah, they were, 3.5 years around, and then they came back and brought 666 talents of gold. Well, this is a lot of gold. Where did they go?
They were gold diggers.
They were, of course, they digged gold. I dig it too.
Yeah, of course. And I heard that they went to the Philippines, and they went to the land of Ophir. They thought it was the land of the Philippines nowadays. They got a bunch of gold from there as well.
So why is Brazil called Brazil? It's for Barzel, from iron. So it's a Hebrew name. Okay. And when you go to Brazil, you see these huge mountains of iron. Now you drive like 500 kilometers from the coast, you go to Minas Gerais. This is one of the counties in Belo Horizonte. They built a city in the end of the 19th century, totally Freemason, right from the scratch. They built a complete city for 1 million people in 4 years.
Oh, wow.
In 4 years. And around 200 kilometers around are the most profitable gold mines, iron mines, and everything else. So 45% of the GDP of Brazil is created in 200-kilometer radius around Belo Horizonte.
Oh, wow.
And they have there the oldest operating gold mine, still operational since 1840 or something like this. I mean, it's incredible. So, and I honestly believe, you know, that that Brazil and stuff like this, yeah, they had visitors before. They had definitely visitors before, long time. And it just got forgotten, you know, in the Dark Ages, after the Black Death, you know, killed 1/3 of Europe. People just forgot about it. Then Rome fell, and then nothing was left. All the knowledge, you know, on how to build this. Think about these big buildings they bought. I mean, you see the Western Wall. King Herod moved 600-ton stones to put them above each other. 600 tons. And they are on a millimeter. I mean, they are absolutely perfectly set. Yeah, and so you take a look at all these monumental, these super monumental structures. You know, you go to Peru or something like this, to the highlands, where you said, who built that stuff? The pyramids of Egypt. I mean, who built that stuff? I mean, it's a big issue. So nobody is able to build the pyramids. Nobody knows how they did this. Yeah, and even the 600-ton stones. There is not a weightlifter who is able to lift that type of weight. Right. But they did it 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. So there was a knowledge available, especially in the time of Solomon. Solomon was the wisest guy around. And at that time, he had the largest expansion of the kingdom of Israel in peacetime. And of course, he married all the chicks, you know, of all the surrounding kings. So he had like good diplomatic relationships, you know, of course, with the Queen of Sheba and so on, you know, had like little Solomons, like little black Solomon guys, which are today the Ethiopian Jews. 3,000 years ago. Think about this.
So pretty much all of the Ethiopians had King Solomon's blood at some point, you're saying?
No, not all of them, but a certain type, certain type of Ethiopian guys. Not all of them.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, there was a time when Israel went on the Operation Solomon, when they airlifted all these Ethiopians back into the land of Israel because they considered them Jewish people. Yeah, but King Solomon was very wise. The Muslims had records of him with special knowledge. Like for example, he was able to read the birds' paths, ornithosy. He was able to read the based on the way that birds were flying. He can tell the future, or he can tell like what's going on. And but later on, people had all kinds of these esoteric things that's associated to him. Some are probably real, some are probably not real. But the Star of David with the six-sided star was supposedly from one of the seals that was attributed to him. There was a pentagram with the 5 stars, and there was the 6 stars one. But supposedly it's for like protection or something, an amulet. And yeah, he was. But what I heard was that he built the temple with like shamir worms. He had these worms, like somehow the worms were able to cut the stones into straight lines. It was some like really advanced, some kind of method, like you said. It was really interesting. I mean, before the temples got destroyed, I mean, the entire world was like, had oracles, prophets, had these.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was totally normal. I talked with Joseph about this yesterday. When you go into the prophet of Daniel, chapter 2 or chapter 3, this is where basically King Nebuchadnezzar, so he had this dream, and now he brings on all the soothsayers, so all the prophets, all the priests, all the guys, the astrologers, the satraps, the magistrates. So there is a whole line of people, and which were the counselors of the king.
This was Israel, or you were talking about?
No, this is in Babylon. This is in Babylon. So you
Yeah.
see that the structure, and every time, is that you have a king, but next to the king, you always had a priest. Yeah, this is like a classic issue. It doesn't matter. You had the Roman Empire, but then you had the pagan priest, the Pontifex Maximus. Only Caesar, he put the two positions together. So he was not only emperor and Caesar, he was also Pontifex Maximus. But normally in all generations, even in the Roman Empire, now in the Holy Roman Empire of German nations, you had a king, always a king, and then next to him you had a priest, always, And because of a secularization, because of the revolution, the priests, they were exchanged with experts. We don't believe anymore, so we have experts. But of course, people still read the horoscope and make some mumbo jumbo and ask stones. And of course, they have these soothsayers, And so one of the big issues of Babylon was the observance of the stars. So they built up their structure according to what the heavens are saying, sun worship and so on. And they were already able to pre-calculate sun eclipses and so on. So, and that job of the astrologers and the priests, where they were taken on in the modern times by the Jesuits. So the Jesuits, after they were started, they became the best astrologers and were able to pre-calculate, everything what we experience today with the sun eclipses and so on, while they were able to already pre-calculate hundreds of years ago.
The Vedic, yeah. I was going to say, the Indians did the same thing, Like today, they talk about how, the signs are not in the planets are not in their signs anymore because they shifted one sign, every 2,000 years, the precession of the equinox. Well, I don't know about the other societies, but I know the Vedic astrologers from India, they knew about the precession of the equinox. That's why we have the age of Pisces, age of Aquarius.
Yeah, exactly. But this is it's an aeon. It's an aeon. One aeon, I think it's 2,160 years, so we went into the new aeon, into the Aquarius already last year.
Right.
So the whole procession it's now completely, so all available maps are all wrong. You have like this Wendekreis. What is this Wendekreis? You have the procession of the sun, and then at some point you have the shortest day, and then it gets a longer day. So we have now 21st December will be the shortest day. And then how is it called?
I think the orbit that the Earth goes around the sun. Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm talking about this Wendepunkt. No, there is this,
you're not talking the winter solstice, are you?
Solstice, exactly. What is this? Winter? You have a winter solstice, and of course you have a spring.
Yeah, spring equinox, summer solstice, winter solstice.
The equinox, you have a spring and an autumn equinox. So the equinox is equal day and night. While the winter solstice, then it waits till the shortest day, and now the days get longer. And then you have like this summer solstice. So where you have the longest day, Now the sun in a way turns on this southern equinox. It always says that it's turning in Capricorn. So you go on star maps and so on, you know, on all sea maps and so on. So there is this not the solstice, it's, oh my gosh, now I'm coming to the limitation of my English. Now it's getting like really particular.
You speak it better than most of our presidents here in the United States do, so you're good.
Oh yeah, you saw this one from Joe Biden. I can say America is great in one word. Did you see this? So America in one word.
America in one word. The
I know you did. What is this? Like recently, I saved this clip. You know, I sent this around. It's so hilarious. So there is this, you know, on a map when you have like, you know, you have like this, the line passed in where, you know, it's the longitude and what is this? The longitude is from east and west, and then you have the other one.
The longitude and verticalitude. No. Longitude. I don't know. That, wow, you stumped me. Longitude. Latitude.
Latitude. You know, you have like this, you know, so many grade or degrees and so on and so on. You know, you take a look at any location, you have an X and Y longitude and what longitude and
latitude.
Latitude and longitude. So these are the two crossroads where you can basically put every place on the planet on a map. And you have, you know, like an X and Y, you know, longitude and so yeah, then on the spot. So in the summer, the most southern circle of the sun, you know, it's everywhere in all the maps, it's all inscribed in Capricorn. That means that at 12 o'clock, behind the sun would be the star sign of Capricorn. And that it's not anymore. It's, although it's signed in all maps, it's not anymore because we already entered the new aeon.
Right, yeah. You know, astrology is such a deep science, you know. I mean, like you know, I learned that there was a tropical astrology and there's a sidereal astrology. But yeah, in the sidereal charts, it would have been off like by one chart. Like for example, I'm a, you know, Pisces, but I would have been an Aquarius, you know, in the Vedic chart. But the tropical chart is based on the Earth going around the orbit and, you know, the angles and everything. But yeah, that's I mean, very interesting stuff though. I mean, like
absolutely, and I believe that the you know, it's our clock. Because it says very early in Genesis 1:14, it says, you know, the sun and the moon, they're given, you know, to measure our time and day and season, but also the moedim, the appointed times.
Moedim,
yes.
Yeah,
so when you have a holiday, it's a moed. Moed. These are the times when God says, okay, I want to meet you. Shabbat, Passah, Shavuot, Sukkot, okay, so they are appointed times. So in Passah will take place on full moon. Now the same thing with Shavuot. It's on the full moon. Okay, so and now we have, you know, with when Moshe, okay, this will be the first day of the first month, the 1st of Nisan. It used to be Aviv, now it's Nisan, and then on the 14th of Nisan we have Passah with full moon. And these are the appointed times. In Hebrew, moedim.
Yeah.
So and I, who believe completely that God created the heavens and the earth through his word, where he gave us an observable clock for all humanity, for all humanity, where he says, okay, I created these issues so that at some point you know and you recognize that, you know, when the sun is darkened and the blood is, the moon is turning to blood, and there will be signs in the heaven and on the earth, where then it's visible, then it's the appointed times. And it's already in Genesis, as I said, you know, sun and moon and 11 stars are bowing down to me. This is what Joseph says. Now in Revelation, you have then, the virgin and with this, the moon under her feet and crossed with the sun and 12 stars. No? So these are the appointed times. So God already in his word pre-calculated this and said, gave the word to his prophets and says, okay, you should not bow down to them. You should not worship the sun. This is given to the heathens, to the Gentiles. But Israel, they should go with a completely different calendar. So the stuff up there is a clock. It's a huge, big clock. That's basically it. And God already said in the beginning, okay, one day there will be an appointed time where the Son of Man will be born, and everybody will recognize it because he will recognize it in the star signs. No? And this is why they pre-calculated everything and then set the 25th of May, 1967 on the birthday. This is, I mean, you take a look at the law from the church, and this is what they did. And they even set the key of David, the time frame of the key of David. They all pre-calculated this.
Yeah, that's
All of
interesting.
it. Yeah. And I just have to go through the laws. I just have to go through the laws the church issued. Take a look at the date, what happened there, and then and it knocked my socks off.
Yeah. 525, you know, in numerology, sometimes we add my numbers together. So 2 plus 5 is 7, 7 plus 5 is 12. So, you know, you could say that it's the 12 tribes, perhaps. 525. So it all adds up to 12.
Yeah, I found this quite, you know, you have like this different, you have a different calculation. So US date, you have month and day, and German date is day and month. Okay.
Yeah, 25, 5, yeah.
25:5. So in Genesis 25:5, it says, you know, Abraham gave everything he had to Isaac. You know, when you go to John 5:25, when I made the fun of, at one point I said, okay, let's go through my birth dates. You know, what does the Bible says? You know, on what day are you born? What's your birthday?
February 22nd. So 2202, February 22nd.
Yeah, but for example, you know, you can start, you know, 22nd too. So you could check out, you know, what does Genesis 22 is actually the sacrifice of Isaac. So you can, you know, I would go and check out all chapter 22, verse 2, and then the other way around. And what chapters of the Bible you have in chapter 2, verse 22? What's written there? And I found this very interesting. You know, I don't, you know, at some point I said, well, this is quite coincidental, you know, and I found this out with other guys, you know, for example, who are born, you know, a good buddy of mine is born on the 21st of 7. You know, and now you go to Revelation 24:1-7 or so. Yeah, this is a son of God. I mean, you go through all the stuff with 21:7, it knocks your socks off.
Yeah. This is yeah, absolutely. There's you know, it's good gematria. It's geometria. Numerology.
Yeah, it's not only gematria. You know, the funny thing is, you know, that and the Jews are saying, okay, this is the only good thing the church did. They divided the Bible in chapters and verses so that everybody knew what they were talking about. So only in the Middle Ages, because the Torah was on a scroll, there were not chapters. You had one parasha, and then that's it. So you one roll, and then next time another page. So you roll it open. Yeah, and a book Books were codified only later. Yeah. So when they started to discussion here, for example, with Rambam and so, he had like the discussion in the Middle Ages, and the church says, yeah, we prove you now that Jesus is your Messiah. And so the Jews are saying, oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Where do I find this? I don't recognize the verse. What are you talking about? So, and now the church started to put everything into chapters and verses so that they could argue and says, yeah, look. And then, of course, a lot of stuff of the New Testament was adjusted because, some of the stuff transmitted didn't make any sense. Yeah. So they slowly adjusted the New Testament to fit the narrative. And only in 1870, they closed the revelation. This is what the Pope says. It's now we gathered all the information and so on and so on. We start the First Vatican Council, where they've said, we have a revolution. We are really problematic. So the Pope became infallible. And the revelation, and I'm meaning the revelation from Mount Sinai up to the book of the Apocalypse, they closed it and they said, okay, now we are the only people who are able to determine who is the firstborn from the dead when he comes. So this is why the Pope is the Pope. And everybody accepted this. Yeah. And since then, you have to see that, before, to have a book and to read. I mean, who was able to read and to write up to a certain point? Right. Now, only at some point now the printing press was developed. Now the first thing was printed was the Bible, and only because now everybody went out and says, okay, what do we do? So then King James made the authorized version, 16 or 11. And that became the standard Bible, King James version, the authorized version, And I think, that at some point, people came to the conclusion, okay, we have to have a codified text where we can talk about. And after the revolution and so on, short before the Pope lost his power, he gave himself the infallibility and says, okay, we pulled this now through for so long. The Pope is the only person on the planet who is infallible according to all matters of the Bible, of the Word of God. And now we close this and put the Pope as infallible representative of Christ on top. Then the Roman Empire, Rome was destroyed, and the Pope went into hiding for 59 years, till 1929, when Benito Mussolini gave him a kingdom, as it is today. Why? Well, because he said he's infallible. Yeah. And now, only in 1965, think about this, only 1965, during the Second Vatican Council, the church says, okay, guys, now we do not expect anything else than the appearance of our Lord. Okay, and now they allowed everybody to read and to hold the sermon in their own language. Before, it was all Latin. Nobody understood squat. Nobody understood squat. So now in 1965, Nostra Aetate comes, where the church the first time accepts the Jewish people that they have their own covenant. They said, no, they have their own covenant with God. Yes, of course, the Pope is infallible, and we are, of course, the only two church where there's salvation, but the Jews are also right. And now Jerusalem comes, and now everybody is making big advertising, and say, now you're allowed to read the Bible for yourself. It never happened before, never, ever, never. It's the first time that people were allowed to read the Bible in their own language without to be killed. that they were allowed to confess their Christian belief in any form ever. In Europe, before, it was all Pope. And if you did not submit to the Pope, you died. You were dead. And now, all these dogmatic statements of faith, they're still active. And there's still a death penalty on there, but they are not executed because we're living in a democracy. You know? And I thought, okay, when I open up my Bible, you know, then the first thing it says testament, a testament. So a testament, you know, a covenant, it's when somebody dies, he writes out a testament for its heritage. So you have the Old Testament and the New Testament. So every testament has an inheritance because somebody died and now he has his last will. And now he gives the testament. So when the guy dies, you know, his heirs are going to the lawyer or whatever. So he reads out the testament and then gives out the inheritance. So because nobody knew who that Son of Man was, they said, okay, we create now environment. Yes, we believe whatever we believe, but we give freedom of religion to everybody. Everybody can do whatever he wants. And, you know, when he finds the truth, he can share it. You know, the government has to guarantee that, you know, the search for truth is like state sanctions. You know, nobody is allowed to touch these people. And this only happened in 1967, 1965. Never happened before. And now everybody can read up the Bible and really ponder about, okay, the Son of Man, who's the guy talking about? Is he talking about me? You know, I mean, when the Jewish people read the Bible and says, yeah, we are Jews. Okay, alles klar. So what's the problem when I say I'm from Ephraim? How do you want to prove that you're Jewish? You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's these. I think Yosef said that. You know, before I met you, Yosef said to me that, you know, believe it or not, you might be surprised to learn that. I need to smoke something as well. I'm right back. He said that. He said that before. You know, Shawn.
Hey, we're still recording, no? You perhaps we.
I guess I'm not sure.
You just push the button. Stop recording.